lowpolylevi.exe. What am I gonna do? Oh wait, I always keep a gun in my pocket, never mind. If you've been on the internet for longer than, I don't know, a week, then there's a good chance you know what an EXE game is. About a decade ago, a story called Sonic.exe was made. It was a creepypasta in which the main character gets a letter from their friend, which has a disc labeled Sonic. Yeah! When he puts it into his PC, he plays a weird Sonic game in which a bloodied-eyed version of the Hedgehog kills his friends and Eggman. Looking back at it, everyone knows it's a terrible story. Of course, though, most people who originally read the story were literal children at the time, and when you're a kid, you don't exactly have the best taste, and you can't tell a good story from a bad one. So it ended up getting really, really popular. In fact, it's probably one of the most popular creepypastas to date. And since it got so popular, it inspired many people. People made games based off of the story, videos based off of the story, and eventually they EXE-ified other IPs. I'm not the first to say it, but you can pretty much look up any popular franchise followed by EXE, and it probably exists. Kind of like how if you look up your name plus the Hedgehog, there's a high likelihood you'll find a Sonic OC who shares your name. So today, I wanted to talk about some EXE games. Some good, some bad, some whatever. So let's start with some Mario. If you saw my Mario Fan Games video, you would have seen that I talked about Mario 85, and while that is a really good game, I don't think it qualifies as an EXE game. But there is another game that is sometimes grouped in with Mario 85, and that is Too Late.exe. See, this time EXE is in the name, so you know it's an EXE game. Anyway, this game was made by Mr. Pixel Productions for the LuigiKid EXE Game Challenge, with LuigiKid being the GOAT, who's basically one of the pillars keeping the EXE community alive nowadays. And yes, if you couldn't tell, I am a dedicated bro. Anyway, the title screen starts, and it looks like Mario Bros. 3, but Mario is alone. There's no Luigi, until his hat falls down, and Mario starts breaking down and crying. We load into the world map, and we go into the first level. There's no enemies, no power-ups, and the music is slowed, and Mario just looks sad. We get to the end, but before we can reach the goal, Mario just slumps over and starts to cry. He can't go on without his brother. That is, until he hears him. Mario runs over to the source of the sound, and we found Luigi, but he does look kind of strange, and he talks weird and... Yeah, I do not think that's Luigi. We get booted back to the world map, and we get what this game is probably most known for, the scene in which the Luigi monster, called Mr. L, grabs the world map and snaps it in half. Mario then starts to plummet down before falling into a macabre and bloody landscape with barely any color. In the first level, there's tons of bloody objects on the ground and strangely bloody cars. We also have to occasionally turn around so that Mr. L doesn't grab us. Once we complete the stage, we get a cutscene with the strange creature. The next level is this strange, bloody, fleshy cave. When Mr. L appears in the background, we have to make sure we're behind something so that he doesn't find us. Reminds me of when I was a kid and I had to sneak around in the middle of the night for a glass of water. Mario is also equipped with a torch, which is nice. When we complete the level, we get another cutscene with the green guy, and he offers us a 1-up, and these pop-ups will appear for yes and no, which is actually kind of cool. If we go into Toad's house, he's nowhere to be found, but if we open one of the chests, well, I guess we technically found him. Moving to the next screen, there's more of these weird Luigis. The next level is this eyesore of flesh and teeth and eyes. If you're not careful when you're near these weird lumps, Mr. L will pop out and kill you. If you go through the right pipe, you can actually get a secret entrance into a secret level. I think this is mainly just one big Easter egg, because if you walk around enough, you can find the goat himself, and the other goat himself. The next level is this haunted house place, and when you walk past these mirrors, you'll see Luigi, not himself, looking back at you. If you're not careful, he'll reach in and grab you. After this, Luigi then starts to go a little bit too far. He threatens the princess. I am climbing into the screen and beating you myself, sucker. Mr. L now says that it's about to end, and we go through this castle, passing dozens of these strange Luigis. We get to the end, and... This game was honestly pretty good. The story and the scares, that is. When I played it, the physics were kind of bad. It might have just been my computer lagging out because I was running a lot of other things, but even when watching other videos of people playing it, it still looked a little bit off. I'm still not sure though, so I'll give it a pass. The cutscenes were definitely the highlight, especially the map breaking. All the scenes with Luigi are just disturbing. Also, even though it was an EXE game, it didn't fall into the trap of being a walking simulator. A lot of these will just be a flat plane before seeing something scary, which makes for a very boring experience undeserving of the moniker of a game. But this game has real platforming, and honestly the levels were pretty well designed. Also the gimmicks were just kinda cool. Anyway, now with this game out of the way, let's talk about Markiplier. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, in 2015, Markiplier uploaded a video called Pikachu.exe. Coincidentally, it does not include a game called Pikachu.exe, it's actually called Ukakeep.exe, which is of course Pikachu spelled backwards. The game itself was made by the Ohm guy on GameJolt, but since the release of this video, it has been taken down. But Lost Media Hunters, do not worry, there are re-uploads of it. So with an intense backstory like that, this has to be an amazing horror experience, right?
It was not.
We start in a field, and we eventually run into a Machop, and as soon as we throw out our Pikachu, something scary happens. There's Red, there's Static, Pikachu's name is backwards, and he has an evil face. I heard this will be the premise of the next Blumhouse film, I'm not even joking. After that, we run into a Butterfree, and the exact same thing happens before the word Ukakeep slowly fades in. Oh man, the text jump scare really got me, it's really scary. After that, we're jump scared by this really stupid looking Pikachu image with just the loudest noise ever. That's one of the big trends in EXE or other horror games based on pre-existing IP. It's always either the loudest noises or the brightest flashing lights, or both sometimes if you're lucky, or unlucky, I guess. I swear, if I went deaf and it was because of a Pikachu game, I would actually never forgive myself. Now we're in a dark void with a couple red paths. If you choose the wrong one, well, you get another jump scare that looks like an ice cream bar for some reason. But when you go on the right path, you'll just be met with a to be continued screen and the game closes. But no, it was actually a fake out, and then it'll use a crappy jump scare again. I do appreciate the attempt at a fourth wall break, though. It's at least a little bit interesting. This game was really bad. There's no getting past that. It was short, it had very little horror, and it just wasn't good. Say it with me, everyone. Jump scares do not equal horror. While this is a bad game, do not go out of your way to harass the developer. They probably made this when they were either really young or just a novice in game development. It seems like a no-brainer not to harass someone over a Pikachu horror game, but this is the internet we've made. Now with all that said, what about a game that's actually kind of good? If you've been in the EXE game community for a while, there's a high likelihood you know about Randy Becker. He's one of the OG EXE devs, and he's actually still working on both EXE games and proper Steam games to this day. His most popular game on GameJolt is Nintendo.exe. It's meant to feel like a lost SNES demo cartridge, which is a really nice idea. Booting in, we're met with a disclaimer stating that this is only for Nintendo employees, and that by continuing, we're agreeing with the terms that this will only be used for testing purposes. But you didn't make me sign anything, Nintendo. This isn't legally binding, loser. After that, we see 4 options: Mario World, Super Metroid, Kirby Avalanche, and A Link to the Past. Let's start with Mario. There's a strange glitch before we're in the level, in which the word test is made out of the yellow flippy blocks. There's also strange artifacting on the background, but before we can think about that too much, there's more glitching before we're transported to a similar area with a harsh vignette, and everything is red, of course. There's blood on the ground, and the blocks now say, "Help me." They shake as we move past, and once we reach the end, we see a strange-looking woman. We're then transported to a strange black void, and before you know it, we're crushed. Now we're booted back to the main menu, the music is different, and there's smoke covering the screen. Guess we might as well move on to Super Metroid. We're in a dark, fleshy hallway with messages begging for help scrawled in blood across the walls. Stop asking me for help. Do I look like a 911 operator to you, idiot? We're attacked by red Metroids, and we can try our best to shoot them off, but eventually there's just too many, and they completely surround us. They then suddenly get off of us, leaving us at 1 HP. But before we can do much of anything, we're killed off. Now on the title screen, the smoke now has formed large red eyes. It's darker, and the music has disappeared. Surely Kirby will be okay, right? We simply play a bit of Kirby's Avalanche for a little bit before the music cuts, and Kirby turns gray with blacked out eyes with another message above him asking for help. How many times do I have to tell you? Stop asking for my help. I can't do anything. You're a video game. Kirby then turns to us with small pinpricks of red in his eyes, and then, well, he attacks. Now on the main menu, it's completely dark, and the figure is much bigger, and it just sits there, breathing heavily. Our only option now is to play Zelda. We launch in as Link, completely gray with wide, blank, bleeding eyes. There's not even an attempt at a facade of a happy Nintendo game. We're just in the creepiness. We walk around slowly. We have no items, no weapons, not even hearts. We just have to walk through this strange, dark forest with massive ridge pages everywhere. Then, this crazy creature that I believe is usually a dungeon entrance lunges at us. There's nothing but slow, eerie music to accompany us. At the end of the final tunnel, we're met with a hand crashing down and killing us. Now, there's no screen, only heavy breathing, and a flashing image of a woman with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth, again asking for help. And then, the game just closes. I really like this game because it succeeded in having a little bit of gameplay, which again, not a lot of these games really have. Also, the idea is very neat. Rather than being based off of one game, it's instead a collection of games, all never meant to be seen by the public. It also is great in the fact that it has a very open-ended mystery. Is the game actually haunted? Was this some elaborate troll by Nintendo? Or was it an anti-piracy measure? Any one of these options are acceptable, and that's what I love. And now with that done, we need to talk about the blue guy that started all of this. There's a lot of Sonic EXE games, go figure. Well, a lot of them are, some of them are actually pretty good. I was originally planning on talking about Sonic EYX, since it still is really good, but I decided that enough people have already talked about it, and I can't really add anything more. So instead, I wanted to talk about a bit of an underrated gem called Sega and Sonic Bootleg Collection. It was uploaded to GameJolt by Tiago M. Aqua. Apologies if I mispronounced that. And, as you could probably guess by the name, it is meant to be a collection of bootleg Sonic games. We start on a menu that'll be eerily familiar to anyone who's had any experience with bootlegs. There's apparently 400 games in this one cartridge, but it looks like there's only 3. Classic false advertising. The only option available at this time is Sonic the Hedgehog. So, let's play. We start in none other than Green Hill Zone, instead on the NES this time, rather than the Genesis. It is a bit strange, but it is kind of Sonic. Eventually, in Act 2, we're met with a crash screen before being transported into a new area. There's no music, and all the rings are pre-collected. There's also a creepy robotic voice repeating the words, "It's not a chance," in the background. When we get to the end, we're teleported back to the title screen for no reason. When we start, Sonic's eyes glitch out, and as soon as we start moving, everything goes wrong. There's code flying everywhere, and now everything's super sluggish. We're inexplicably transported to the Eggman fight, but he doesn't move, and as soon as we hit him, we die, and we're met with an anti-piracy screen. It's very strange if you ask me, since this is supposed to be a bootleg. Why would they put an anti-piracy screen? But before we can get back into the game, it's not a chance, it's not a chance, it's not a chance, it's not a chance. After that insanity, we're booted back to the title screen, and when we select the next game, an image of a dude flashes up onto the screen, with there seemingly being his birth and death year. When the game boots up, it's now Somari, which, if you didn't know, was a real bootleg on the Famicom that was basically a demake of Sonic 1, but with Mario. We start in Spring Yard Zone, but before we can have too much fun, we suddenly see Sonic, and he starts talking to himself. In the next level, there's these strange black silhouettes of enemies around everywhere. Eventually in the level, we're met with this red fellow, and he slowly slides across the screen before it flashes the words, "Welcome to our hell." When we get back into the game, we start getting chased by the red creature, with the screen flashing various images. When we inevitably get caught by the strange red thing, we're transported to a new area. with more flashes and a stark white background. This absurd music starts to play as we start getting chased again. We run and run and run, but no matter what, we always get caught. The entity starts talking to us. Mario then pops up on the screen before melting with a look of pure agony pasted onto his face. We're suddenly booted back to the main menu, and now it's time for Tails' Musical Odyssey. The misspelling is entirely intentional. It's meant to replicate that feeling of bootlegs, that feeling of lack of quality. It's a simple musical game where you press the corresponding button for each color until you earn enough points to pass the stage. In between each stage, the entity talks to us, saying things like, "Who are you? I miss Dad," and of course, "Help me." Now in the final level, the game is completely freaking out, and no matter how many points you get, you can't ever win. We're put into a new level titled Answer the Questions, and there's a flash of an image of an animal. The entity asks us a series of questions, though our answers don't really matter, as it always ends with the entity showing us its story.
Hello? Hello? I don't know if you can hear. This is Edgar Snedschliff, in charge of programming for the games in the collection. The development is being fatal. No matter what they say publicly, they are lying. There's this bunch of who make fun of everything we do and anything when it's their turn to code. Then I'm the one who repairs the damage without anyone noticing. I don't know how much more time I have to finish everything and leave this team. Oh, and I almost forgot. A few days ago, I found a baby fox surviving on the street. It must have escaped from some zoo. I couldn't say exactly. I didn't hesitate right away and took it home. I have a license to breed animals since I live near a forest, and now I have Miles Tails Prower at home. What a good joke. Since I brought him home, I feel like my life is a little less gray.
We're now playing as Tails in the Death Egg, and we run into a much more realistic fox, and he starts speaking to us. This game was really good. It embodies everything that should be an EXE game. It has pretty effective horror, the glitches were pretty unnerving at times, and the cutscene sequence was both terrifying and extremely sad. And again, I can't stress this enough, it had real gameplay. I think these games are all really inspirational, even LuigiKid. The fact that anyone can take this trash story and have their own take on it and even try to make it better is amazing, and it's a testament to the power of creativity. Sure, this community can be cringy and cheesy and maybe even a bit stupid, but my goodness, at the end of the day, if it isn't a great community, then I don't know what is. Maybe the community won't ever be accepted by the larger online horror community, But at the end of the day, does that really even matter? As long as people are creating and sharing and having fun, I think that's what really matters. And with that, I've been Low Poly Levi. You've been a great viewer, and I'm off. See ya.